In life, we all encounter obstacles, and those obstacles come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms. The question is, how do we handle those obstacles? Do we attack them head on, or do we allow them to make us quit? Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to motivate and inspire listeners to never give up on themselves, their dreams, or their goals. We will interview successful people from all walks of life as they share their no-quit stories when they had the choice to give up or give in, but they didn't. We thank you for listening, and we hope to be that jolt of positivity as you go for your greatness. Welcome to episode number 148 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is attitude. Our quote of the day comes to us from Stefan Diggs. Each day, I come in with a positive attitude, trying to get better. Today's episode is sponsored by the good people over at West Fair Communications, who publish the Westchester County Business Journal and the Fairfield County Business Journal. These newspapers do a wonderful job in covering all aspects of the business world within two of the most influential markets in the New York metropolitan area. You can also take advantage of their daily news feeds, which keep track on the companies and thought leaders in these important regions. For more information, take a look at www.westfaironline.com. Trust me, once you start reading, you won't quit. I'm very excited to bring you today's episode. It will be impossible to say that our guest doesn't have a great attitude. From the minute we first connected, Honoree Corder was so upbeat, positive, and willing to offer great advice. On today's show, she shares her own perspective on how she has attacked life and made it happen. With the release of her 51st book coming out soon, she is clearly a go-getter. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Honoree, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
I am delighted to be with you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. So the first question we ask everybody is, are you ready to make it happen today?
Every day and twice on Sunday.
You got me beat on Sunday, so you win.
Excellent.
So as we spoke before we went live, the number one objective of not only our podcast, but our company is to motivate and inspire people to never give up on themselves. So I was curious if you had either a no-quit story yourself or perhaps a really challenging time in life where you could have given up or given in, but you didn't.
I have had several of those. They're a rainbow to choose from, but I will choose the one when I got divorced and found myself a single mom. And I had the option to just say, you know what, you take her. I don't want to do it. I'm out. I don't have any training or background or skills, or I don't have a bench of support. And instead, I decided that it was my opportunity to rise to the occasion and really figure out, and this was a touchstone moment for me to figure out what I was made of as a person, as a mom, as a friend, as an ex-wife, not just a wife now, but as an ex-wife and a co-parent, as a businesswoman, to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and what I stood for and what my personal rules were, and to reevaluate my personal philosophy and see if the things I had decided earlier in my life were still fitting. And then continue to choose in to not quit, but not only to not quit, but also to choose in and recommit every single day to who I wanted to become and what I wanted to do and the life that I wanted to build for myself.
I think that's amazing that we all get hit with different challenges, and I think what you've done and the level of success that you've gotten to speaks for itself. But I have a selfish question for our listeners: is during those tough times, and not that anybody can say that their tough times or challenges are identical. I think in many ways and many times they're similar. But what was it during those times? Was it something that you were reading, listening to? Was it somebody that was helping you that kept you focused and going when obviously those times were tough and challenging?
All of the above. I was reading Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Napoleon Hill. I was listening to Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, not Napoleon Hill. I was really spending time in the work. And I think what is said often, and it's so cliche, but I'm not sure it connects with people, is that our success is created first between our ears. That whatever we think about, whatever we talk about, whatever we visualize consistently day in and day out is who we become over time. It's kind of cliche. Say some affirmations, do a little visualization, do a little of this, a little of that. And, high five and a smack on the rear and everything should be fine. And I think that what I realized was I had no other choice but to do those things and hope that the people who said that they worked were right. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think some of those people that you shared are people that I've personally looked up to and had some time to follow and actually got a chance to speak a couple times before he passed, to Zig Ziglar, who's an amazing person. His son Tom was on my show, and it's almost like if you close your eyes and just listen to Tom, you kind of hear Zig, but knowing that he doesn't have the same accent, but they definitely talk about the same thing. I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind just telling our listeners a little bit about who you are.
Present day, I'm the author of 50 books. I have the 51st book coming out in a few weeks. I was a business coach for a really long time. So business and executive coach, working with lawyers and bankers, CPAs, financial advisors. And then as I started writing books, people became interested in writing books. And so now the majority of my time is spent writing books and doing strategic book coaching. I also did a lot of onstage presenting, day-long workshops, mini intensives, that sort of thing. I love to entertain and inspire an audience, and I like to give them the meat and the potatoes as well as the ice cream at the end. I'm a mom. I am in the process of moving right now as we speak to Nashville, Tennessee. So that I'm starting a new chapter in my life. My daughter's graduated from high school, and she's starting the next chapter of her life. And I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. So I kind of thought I was going to do my network marketing business in my 20s. And then I downshifted or upshifted or whatever it is, right? You downshift into fourth and punch it. So I started doing business and executive coaching and corporate training and speaking. And then I started writing books. And then that became, obviously, I've spent some time doing that. I work with Hal Elrod in the Miracle Morning book series and a few other authors to help them to produce and create their books and their empires, their publishing empires, their business empires. And then when I'm tired, I take a nap.
I don't think you do enough. I think you should, add maybe.
I'm a loser. I know you're questioning me being on your podcast right now. Who is this? How did this happen?
She doesn't do anything. Well, I love what you said in regards to when you grew up, because I just turned 40 myself, and I'm still, I think, far from growing up. So I love that you said that. And I want to mention one thing to our listeners to make sure that they understood. You specifically said you've written 50 books and your 51st book comes out. So I just want to reiterate to our listeners, not a second or a third book, but 50 and soon to be 51. So I think that's amazing. And as I said to you before we went live, I'm working on my first, so I'm only 50 books behind you.
That is incredible, and congratulations in advance. You will always be glad that you took the time to do it. Not always when we embark on something and see it through do we congratulate ourselves and say that was a really good choice. Sometimes our choices we look back with regret. This choice of writing a book, I have not yet met one person who didn't say, A, I'm so glad I did it, and B, it changed my life. In one way or another, or many, it changed my life.
No, I think that's important. I appreciate you sharing that, because it's something that I've personally wanted to do for a while, and I think this year's kind of kicked my butt into gear in many really exciting ways, and some pretty cool people that have come into my life, and I'm excited. So I'm definitely going to reconnect with you when it goes live, because I'll probably want to pick your brain on many different things.
Excellent.
So if you could define yourself and you could only do it in one word, what would that word be?
Human.
I like that. I think that's a great answer. And one of the things we often talk about is the word success. And I wanted to ask you, what does success mean to you, or how do you personally define success?
I define success as having the ability to do what I want, when I want, how I want, with whom I want, having the abundance of time, money, energy, and space with which to do it. That's success to me. And any attempt in that direction. I'm a big believer in making it easy to feel successful and hard to feel like a failure. So even if I'm not that all the time, anytime I take a step in that direction, I'm winning. I consider it a success, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. And I really like that question, because it's so personal and there's no right or wrong answer. But one of the things you said just really stood out to me. It's having the abundance of time, money, and space. And I think the word abundance is something that I know that I personally didn't understand early on in my life, and now I realize what it actually means, and it's something that I look for. And for me, success is not a monetary or material thing. It's actually the way in which I feel, and it's also the ability to do that. So I'm glad you touched on that.
I think it's very important to define success as a growth opportunity. For me, I am successful. I think most people would look and go, oh, okay, she's successful, right? She makes a certain amount of money. She's not homeless, right? Her family's intact. Her dog's happy, right? So we can just do the basic level of success. But then for me, I can say, yes, I've checked the boxes, the basic boxes, but then what am I going to do tomorrow? I'm in a growth mindset. So to me, part of being successful is continuing to grow and not becoming complacent or taking anything for granted.
No, I think that's really, really key that you touched on, that is continuing to grow. And so many of the amazing people that we had on our show, they talk about that in some way, shape, or form, is whatever level of success you get to, whether it's career, business, personal, you always want to grow and improve. And I think some of the most successful people that I look up to, and it's not just monetary or people that are successful, famous, it's the people that really want to become better versions of themselves and never want to stand still. And it doesn't mean, money, you're not enough, or, the house is not big enough, but it's just always trying to get and become the better or a better version of yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So one of the things we talk about often are morning or daily rituals. And I was curious if you have either a morning or a daily ritual that you personally swear by.
Oh, yes, of course. So for years, even before I met Hal, I was doing a version of the Miracle Morning, the Lifesavers. I start my morning first thing every morning with meditation. And then I roll out of bed and make some coffee and do some reading and scribing together. So reading and journaling together. Once I'm done with that, I hop on the treadmill and try to do just enough that I'm breaking a good sweat. I'm doing all the right things, but I don't meet Jesus that day. Right? So I put in a good effort, but I stop short of the heart exploding. That's pretty much it. While I'm running, doing the elliptical, yoga, stretching, whatever, I'm doing affirmations and visualization. I spend some time later in the day and in the evening before I go to bed doing more of an intensive visualization process. But while again, being a student of Tony Robbins, right, he talks about doing incantations. It's not just saying the words, it's moving and breathing and connecting your physiology with your psychology. So on the treadmill, I'm saying my affirmations and repeating things that are meaningful to me, that mean something to me, positive present tense affirmations, things that I want to become, things that I'm doing, things that I'm reinforcing. So that's my morning practice. And I really hold that time as sacrosanct. And in the middle of that, sometimes I used to do a morning writing practice from 6 to 7 in the morning. But since we've been in transition, I haven't done that as much. When we get settled in Nashville, I'm going to go back to doing an hour of writing every morning. I'll get back to my regular production schedule as part of my morning ritual. And that assures, for me, it's interesting. I think a lot of people are under the impression you have to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day to really make a difference in your life, in your finances, right? In your wealth, in your abundance. And I have found that when I tackle the things that move the needle first thing in the day, I can be done working, done, lock, stock, and barrel by 10 or 11 in the morning. That if I hold that time sacrosanct, it's the best time of day for me. I can not only do all of my morning practices, I can also get the critical inch work done, the things that move the needle, the things that pay the bills. And then the rest of the day, I have free to be creative or be fun.
That's awesome that you shared on that. And one of the things that's been repeated many times over the last couple months is meditation. I was curious, is there an app that you use, or is there something that you do specifically, or do you have your own process?
I discovered a long time ago the Silva mind control method, and I haven't heard very many people talk about it. It sounds a little crazy with the mind control. It's really an interesting process. It's hard to lay hands on those original audio cassette tapes from when I was a lady of a younger age, but I still have them. I transferred them to when you could transfer your cassette tapes to digital. That was me. I did it. And there are two meditations. One is the Silva Long Relax, and the second one is the Silva Short Relax. So one is 26 minutes, the other is 13 minutes. It's a guided meditation. I believe I found it a few times on YouTube for someone who really wanted that particular meditation. I find it particularly helpful because that 26-minute meditation is a relaxation cycle. So not only does it put you in a state of mental relaxation, it puts you in a complete state of physical relaxation. And at one time I heard someone say it was equal to 3 to 4 hours of sleep, of deep REM sleep. So during the times of my life when I have had, such as right now, a new puppy, or back in the day, a newborn, right? Or you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night because of a fire alarm, or you get less sleep because you're traveling, I rely on an extra relaxation cycle to keep me at the top of my game. Because I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I'm not really bringing it to your podcast is not the correct answer.
I like that. It's interesting, and I appreciate you sharing that, because we've had some amazing guests that share different things, and that's, again, going back to the morning rituals. I think it's so neat just to pick people's brains that are successful in all different walks of life, because although we might do things that are similar, we all have our own little spin on it. So I appreciate you touching on that for a minute.
My pleasure.
Now, here's a tough question for you. One of the things we like to do is always add value to our listeners in different ways, and not including any of your books. I was curious if you've read anything recently that you'd like to recommend possibly to our listeners.
Oh, all the time. So Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy is a fantastic book. Relentless by Tim Grover. I have read it 4 or 5 times. Fantastic. I actually listen to it on the treadmill when I'm not feeling it, like instead of music. That's how good it is. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I listen to a lot of foreign language because I'm trying to get that down. So I think those are the 2 I would recommend. And then of course the old oldie but goodie, Law of Success by Napoleon Hill.
A great book. Now,
one of my favorites.
So you're trying to learn, is there a specific language you're learning?
French.
Ah, oui, oui.
Oui, oui.
Have you looked at the app Duolingo?
I have Duolingo. I have Memories. I have a French tutor in Nice, a French native that I talk to once a week. And I do all the things, I make my family crazy because I'm constantly now trying to figure out how I would say it in French. And so then I'll respond to them in French. They have no idea what I'm saying. My husband just says, "Bless you." Now, could you say that in English?
All right, you win. You win.
Yes.
So here's a tough question for you. Assuming the 20-year-old version of yourself would have listened, what's the one piece of advice you would have liked to have given the 20-year-old version of yourself?
It's all going to turn out okay. Hang in there.
I think that's advice that's probably 1 out of every 5 or 6 episodes that's given in not verbatim, but similar, because I think when you're younger, I think you overstress and you worry about things that the reality is they don't happen. And I think I heard an interesting quote a couple of weeks ago, or I think it was a video I was watching, where someone was talking about that, worrying doesn't do anything other than just make whatever you're going through worse. And I don't know I don't know what it was, but the day that I watched it or heard it, it just kind of stood out. So I think that's good advice.
I have an add-on to that if there's time. Strategize 10 ways when you have a problem to not have that problem and to never have that problem again. Sit down with a blank piece of paper. Identify the problem or challenge you're having, and then strategize 10 possible solutions.
I like that. Is that a trademark?
I'm the only one I know who does it, other than the people that I've shared it with. But I hate to have redundant problems. I don't like Groundhog Day, if that makes sense. I don't like to find myself having the same problem again. So when I figure out, I have an issue. For example, I helped someone publish a book last week and the file size was very large. So minimum price on that, I had no idea. Amazon had a file size minimum price. So, okay, there's that issue. And then it took extra long to get it published because we only had the ebook rights and not the paperback rights. So we had to clarify with Amazon that the ebook rights were with us. And that took extra time. So now I will never have that problem again.
I think it's neat that you touched on that, because for me, that's something that I've not done a great job with throughout my my business career, but it's something that I'm always looking to improve. And I think you just shared some great advice is if you go through a problem, challenge, or an issue, figure out exactly what it is so you don't have to go through it again. And I think so many people, unfortunately, are so focused on getting through the problem that they don't realize that, hey, if we take an extra, hour or two, we can make sure this never happens again. So that's really good advice, and I appreciate you sharing that with us.
No, thank you. My pleasure.
So here's an interesting question for you. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would have dinner with my husband because he's the smartest person I know, and he's my person. Given the choice of having dinner with anyone, it would be him.
Well, that's awesome. And you and I have only recently met, so maybe I'm the smartest person you know.
It could be. We'll determine that. We will determine that over time. You'd have to be pretty darn smart, and I would welcome you into the fold without question.
That's awesome. So one of the things we often talk about with No Quit Living is the word accountability. And I was curious, what does the word accountability mean to you?
Ooh, so I have a chapter called Take 100% Responsibility in my next book, and it is about owning everything in your life, past and present and future, 100%. Take all of the blame and victimness out of any situation and just own it. If someone did you wrong, well, you chose that person. So, okay, I take responsibility. I accept the lessons that the situation has to give me, and I move on. I made a mistake. I take 100% responsibility. I do my best to make amends, make it right with the person that I've offended or harmed in any way, and dust myself off and keep going. So to me, I love accountability because accountability is taking 100% responsibility. And it is the most freeing decision a person can make, in my opinion.
No, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, we often talk and touch on accountability. And I think how you defined it is just taking whatever that is and owning it, I think is so important because in today's day and age, a lot of people don't want to take ownership, whether it's good or bad. And I think that's just a great definition. So I appreciate you touching on that for a minute.
Sure.
So before we went live, you shared you have some exciting news for, I believe, a live coaching course that is coming up in the next couple of weeks. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Sure. So 2 years ago, I wrote a book called You Must Write a Book, and the companion workbook, I Must Write My Book, for Amazon, actually. They invited me to come to a media breakfast in New York to help more people discover the joys of self-publishing on Amazon specifically. And so I wrote that book to help people to know all of the things that they didn't know, all the things that they intuitively knew, and all the things they had to know in order to publish a professionally published book, right? You don't want to put your best face forward in everything except your new business card. So I've had a few dozen coaching clients that I work with since then, and I decided to have a course based on that book and the companion workbook. So the You Must Write a Book live coaching course starts September 11th. It's 10 75-minute sessions with me, and then every person gets some one-on-one time with me to talk about their specific situation. But I really like people to have a full picture of what it means to publish a book really well and get the most bang for your book.
No, that sounds really interesting. And before we end up in a minute or two, I'll give you an opportunity to share your links and things for any of our listeners that are interested in that program.
Awesome.
So here's a question for you, and it's something that we only recently started asking. If you only had 6 months to live and you knew for a fact there were 6 months left, is there anything that you would change or try?
You know what? I think I would do what I say sometimes when I'm really tired. I'm just going to leave my phone on the counter and just walk away. Just like, no more technology. We're just going to go. We're just going to leave everything and walk away. But if I knew I had 6 months to live and it was a guaranteed I had 6 months, I would travel.
Anywhere in particular?
I wouldn't continue all over. All over. I would just probably go to London and just start rolling around. Just go wherever the wind took me.
No, it's an interesting question because obviously most people don't know what's coming, but I think you touched on something even before the travel is I think technology is amazing in so many ways, but the reality is that we're all too attached to our devices, and not that we shouldn't be when we have kids and businesses and professional things that we need to do and families, but the reality is that there's nothing out there that requires you to be 24/7 controlled to your phone or tablet or laptop. And I think for me personally, I love the fact that you shared the first part, because it's something that I'm trying to do more often. And one of the things I try to do on a daily basis is have 1 or 2 sessions with what I call where I just put my phone on airplane mode and set a timer and literally don't touch my phone until that timer's off.
I do that. I work in 50-minute increments on a project, but my phone is 100% of the time on Do Not Disturb.
Really?
100% of the time. I only look at my phone when I want to look at my phone. So if someone wants to reach me, they have to work at it a little bit, and that's okay. But I grew up in a time when we had phones and no answering machines. So if someone wanted to call you, they just called back until they got you. Now we have the opportunity to send someone a text, to leave them a voicemail, to send them a message on Facebook, although I don't like Facebook Messenger, to reach out to them via email. There are lots of ways that you can connect with someone. So I know if someone really wants to connect with me, they will try and they'll figure out the way to reach me over time.
I like that.
And I also, yes, well, I'm not making it a challenge on purpose. I'm doing it so that I can remain productive, because I am human, as I mentioned earlier, and I love to scroll on Instagram. I love to go through Facebook and see what's happening and see who got a new house, or, had a new success story, or who's succeeding in whatever they're doing, whatever their fun quote of the day is, or their cat video, right? I'm down for all of those things. But if I open my computer, if I open my phone, sometimes I will realize 20 minutes later that I never did the thing that I picked up my phone to do, because the minute I looked at it, all of the things popped up, right? All of the messages that are on the screen, and then there's the voicemail, and then there's the text message, and then there's the Marco Polo message. And so it goes on and on and on. For me, I just have to protect that time. And I figured out that my phone never has to ding if I don't want it to, which is fantastic. So it's an Honorée controlled thing, which means if you're listening, insert your name there, then it's a you controlled thing.
No, I love that. And I think we're all guilty of logging on to some type of social media or website, and all of a sudden you find yourself 20, 30 minutes later and you're like, wait, that's not what I signed on for.
Yes. And when I don't do my French lesson, the thing I don't want to ever do is get on with my French coach and say, oh yeah, I didn't do my French lesson. She's like, yeah, but you have 3 pictures of your new puppy and 1 picture of the meal that you made. And right, like it's about deciding what's important. So I eat all those big frogs first. I take all my lumps. I do all the things first. And then once I've checked all the boxes in my bullet journal, then I kind of am like, I'm off for today. I don't have to do anything. I can watch 3 episodes of television, or I can go walk around the antique district and shop, or go get a pedicure and not feel guilty. Or I can say to my daughter, okay, I have all these things I have to do. And then when I'm finished, I'm done for the day. So whatever you want to do, figure something out and let's go hang out. And I'm creating those memories. I've had some of my best memories by not working, shockingly enough.
No, I think we all probably do. So speaking of being cognizant of time, I know you have to move on as well, but I wanted to ask if you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our listeners.
Well, I know when someone who takes the time to listen to a podcast is working on themselves, and that is the key to whatever success you want. And so the first thing you have to decide is what it is that you truly want, not what it is that you think you should want, or not what your neighbors want, or not what your parents want, not even what your spouse wants. It's deciding what it is that you want, and then you have to become the kind of person that can accept that that is available for you, create the plan, and then work on it. And it's a math problem. I'm sure you would agree, right? It's just like when you're trying to lose weight and you're eating all the right things and the scale says, oh, that's cute, peanut. Here, let's go up a pound. And you're like, wait, what's happening? It's a math problem. You can't do the right thing consistently over time and not get the right results. As long as you stay in it long enough and don't quit, right? This is the No Quit podcast. So whatever you do, decide what you want, and then it's like a dog with a bone. You just, or a 3-year-old who wants a piece of candy, right? You just go, I'm just going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Are we there yet? Can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? And it might take you years to get there, but you're going to arrive years from now anyway. You might as well get there with what you want.
No, I think it's great advice. And I have 3 young kids myself, and I often talk about the idea that kids are relentless and they get what they want a lot of times just because a parent or a grandparent says, you know what, you've asked for this 400 times, here you go.
It's why my daughter got the car she got for her graduation, because she has wanted a Volkswagen Bug for as long as I can remember. We play the slug bug game every road trip since the beginning of time. And so when it was time to buy her a car, it was like, well, we could go for the safest or the most boring or the best gas mileage. But ultimately, the thing that's going to light her up is the thing that she really wants. And so that's really part of the success, right? Is feeling like I didn't settle.
That's awesome.
I didn't really want that thing, but I settled for this thing.
Now, what's your daughter's first name?
Lexi.
Lexi, kudos to you for winning mom over with your, persistence.
She wore me down.
So last question for you, and it's hopefully one of, if not the easiest. What's the best way for our listeners to follow you, connect with you, and or if they want some information about your course that's coming out?
So the course, my website is honoreecorder.com, HONOREECORDER.com. And then the course is /you-must-course.
Well, listen, I truly appreciate your time. I know you're very, very busy. And again, just to reiterate, 51st book is coming out. So I truly appreciate you spending some time with us. And I look forward to hopefully connecting with you soon.
I look forward to it as well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to episode number 148. As a single mother that had just recently gone through a divorce, Honorée decided to go all in and attack life. When given the chance to give up or give in, she made the choice to make it all happen. I absolutely loved her definition of success. She defined it as having the abundance of time, money, and space, and the importance of always continuing to grow and looking to improve. She shared something early on in the episode where she said that our success is first created between our 2 ears. I know that is something that we all need to hear more often. In her closing remarks, Honorée shared the importance of deciding what it is that you truly want, not what somebody else wants for you. So my question to our listeners today is just that. What is it that you really and truly want more than anything else in your life? Identifying that and being incredibly clear and specific is the first and most important phase. The clearer and more specific, the better. I challenge you to take some time by yourself and reflect. Ask yourself, what is it that you really and truly want? And then when you find that, clearly identify what it is that you want, come up with a very specific plan, then go after it, fight for it, and go for your greatness. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.